Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Daniel James II, and you're listening to the Culture Connect, the podcast for the South Carolina Commission for Minority Affairs, where we're celebrating 30 years of building bridges to resources and closing gaps within South Carolina's ethnic minority communities. Inspired by the vision of our great Executive Director, Dr. Dolores DaCosta, we wanted to highlight the stories of ethnic minority voices across our great state of South Carolina. You're going to hear from HBCU presidents, civil rights icons, farmers, minority entrepreneurs, men and women, striving every day to make South Carolina a great place to live for all of its citizens. Be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss the notifications for the next episode of the Culture Connect on all digital platforms. Let's tune into the episode. I am so excited today. I have with us here on the Culture Connect, we have the Vice President of the Filipino American Association of Greater Columbia. We have Miss Elen Callahan. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today.
Of course. I want to start off by just, asking you about yourself. We had a little bit of dialogue before we started, and just acknowledge we have your mother, Miss Priscilla, in the room as well. But I want to ask you about, where you're from and sort of talk a little bit about what you do with the Filipino American Association here in Colombia.
Right. Yeah, of course. So I'm from the Philippines. I came over to this country when I was about 6.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I primarily grew up in New York City or around New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved down to Colombia about 2 years ago. And I moved down here to be closer to my parents,
Mm-hmm.
who live across the street from us,
Mm-hmm.
and my aunt and uncle who live right next door.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's been a fun time being down here in Colombia.
Oh, gosh. What's your favorite thing about South Carolina?
The mild winters are wonderful. I came from lots of heavy snow where I was, but I mean the summers are something else.
No, absolutely.
It's a little different.
It's like 91, 90 something today. It's kind of hot, but it's a lot better than the rain. You know what I'm saying? So, but no, I get what you're saying about the cold, because I was in upstate New York and then New England for like 7 years combined, 7 winters. It's not it at all.
You get tired of putting on all those layers.
You do.
You know?
You get so tired of it. You really do. I want to talk, though, since you're talking about moving to South Carolina. South Carolina has seen an uptick in Filipino Americans, particularly migrating to South Carolina for some reason. I believe in the past decade, from like 2009 to 2010, we've seen the numbers go up almost about 4,000 people, which is quite a bit for the state of South Carolina's already small AAPI population. What do you think, from your, inference might be the reason sort of that you're drawing Filipino Americans here to South Carolina in particular? And then sort of what are they doing when they come here, I guess is my question.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I do think that the Filipino Americans are coming here are also coming here for the same reason that everybody else comes to South Carolina, I feel like, because the mild winters, the very affordable, cost of living.
Oh, yes.
But I also think that there's a lot of opportunities here for Filipino Americans, particularly those who are in teaching.
Yeah.
We see a lot of Filipinos coming here from the Philippines to participate in the public education opportunities here.
Yeah.
We see nurses coming from the Philippines as well. We see, Filipinos who are connected to the military in some way are also here. So I think there's a lot of diverse opportunities here for Filipino Americans as well as for other communities to come to South Carolina.
It's a great response, and I think that it does give some insight into the fact that there are a lot of opportunities actually in South Carolina, even though it being a smaller state compared to most places. a lot more people are coming to coastal cities and coming to the Southeast as well, especially in the past 10 years. But I believe it's going to increase from the numbers that we've been seeing as an agency. CMA is a research agency, is that after COVID, there's even more of an uptick. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for giving insight into that as well. I would love to talk about the association. It was founded in 1991, from my understanding, which means it's older than the Commission for Minority Affairs. So I want you to talk a little bit about your knowledge of just the association's formation, and then, how you came to be affiliated with the Filipino American Association, and what resources they provide to Filipino folks that are coming to South Carolina.
Right. So, as you said, it was founded in 1991, and it was founded by a group of individuals who really wanted to connect to the larger Columbia community.
Yeah.
It was a way of kind of bridging the communities, the Filipino communities, the non-Filipino communities, and a way for the Filipinos to connect within the communities themselves. So, the Philippines is made up of many islands, and I think about 200 languages. And there's a wide representation of the different communities within the Philippines here in the Filipino community.
Beautiful.
And I think the association really ties it all together, or ties us all together under kind of the shared national Filipino culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's one way. So not only is this association connecting the Filipinos together, but then it's also bridging outside to the broader Columbia community. And I think that was really what started the organization.
Yeah.
And to this day is what we're trying to move forward.
Yeah. I know that sometimes when moving to a new place, you may say, goodness, I would love to find a place that has my culture's food, or, someone, that maybe speaks my native language, maybe that I can talk to, that could do translation services or interpretive services, or someone that just understands my experience, or I'm interested in starting a business, but I don't know how to go about doing that, or, I want to know how to get involved. What, resources, I guess, does the Filipino American Association of Greater Columbia offer to those people? And what's some examples of that, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the newcomers to the area are benefit from the years of experience of the Filipino American community that's already here, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the community members are established residents of Columbia. A lot of them have been in industries where newcomers are coming into, so they know the ropes, right? So it's helping navigate the Midlands, even if that means as simple as, where to go shopping, or where to pick up clothes for your kids when your kids start school. Being able to call somebody up and say, I've got this problem, can you help me with it? Or I miss home, or being invited to someone's home, and enjoying food that you haven't seen, or haven't tasted since you've left the Philippines. I actually just met somebody. It was at a music place in West Columbia, and we had brought some Filipino foods. It was a Filipino snack called bibingka, and when she saw it, her face just lit up, and she said, "I haven't seen this in like 10 years." And she had been in Colombia, but for whatever reason, she did not know about the association, or she wasn't as connected with the association. And since then, we have had a really great conversation, and she's participating in events, and she's, I invite her to events that we're having. So all of a sudden, she has kind of this new community that she can now just share experiences with. I think is really what it came down to for her.
I love that. And, I'm not Filipino or Filipino American, but just based on what I've heard about, Miss Priscilla's food. I think I might want to come to some of these gatherings and have some of this great food. And I know that that's a way of building community as well. That really is what's most profound. You know, you can go to any, economic development center, or go to downtown, or go to City Hall and ask them about where to go. But there's something different about people that look like you, that come from your experience and how they navigate life, that is a great roadmap for other people as well. So I really appreciate that. Now, COVID-19, I can imagine it might have presented some challenges maybe to this community. So how was, your association affected, and the people that it represents and helps and undergirds and supports? How were they challenged by COVID-19, and what did you do sort of to persist through that?
Right. So, I do think, it was a difficult time for everybody.
Yeah.
And the Filipino community thrives on social connections. It thrives on the personal connection, the ability to be able to share a meal, to share a snack.
Yes.
We go back to food because
Yes.
food is a very strong part of our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we couldn't do that was very difficult. I think we tried to address it by doing Zoom calls, but you can't share food on Zoom calls, You can't, and somebody has a specialty. Like, for example, my mother specializes in egg rolls, and her egg rolls are the best egg rolls ever. And I'll get you some next time.
Please, yes.
But, you can't really share that. You can't have that connection on a video call, on a phone call. So, and the association does a lot of things where we really depend on our members to come together. We have picnics, we have a Christmas party, we have a fundraiser, we have a gala, which we actually are going to have a gala in September. But all of those things are in-person interactions.
Mm-hmm.
We have live music, we have traditional dancing, we have traditional singing, and again, all live interactions, and you really feel the warmth of the community as you experience all of these things. And that that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
So during the protocols, and I understand, everybody of course understands why we had to do it, but it was difficult.
It was definitely difficult. Good. And now do you feel as though your group members have sort of recovered, or getting back to in-person gathering and that type of thing?
Oh, yeah.
I
I think that as soon as it became safe to do so,
Uh-huh.
I think that people were really excited about getting back together again, and, kind of having that camaraderie and that physical, connection to each other again.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I love the culture that is just beaming through what you're talking about. Let's talk about that. In 2009, that was the first year that Filipino American Heritage Month was celebrated in the U.S. We are now in October. It's Filipino American Heritage Month. So how can people celebrate? Of course, how do, Filipino Americans celebrate? But then how can the wider culture participate, or can they? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because we've been working very hard for our October events. So we have put together an exciting lineup of events that will take place throughout downtown Columbia.
Amazing.
For the month of October, starting on October 5th. We are going to be participating for the First Thursday events in downtown Columbia. We will have traditional dancing, singing, and a Filipino contemporary band. That will be, I think it'll be at Boyd Plaza, but that's going on the first day, and that's going to be followed by the opening ceremony for our Filipino American History Month celebration. And that's going to take place at the Richland Public Library. And that's going to have traditional Filipino dancing, singing, but it's also going to launch the textile exhibit, which we will be having, which is called Weaving Communities and Culture Through Cloth.
Through cloth. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's It's a carefully curated textile exhibit using Filipino textiles that are both museum quality and contemporary.
Okay.
And that's going to be an exhibit from October 6th until November, I want to say 20th, but sometime in mid-November.
Mhm.
And that's going to be at the Richland Library. So on October 6th, we'll have the opening ceremony for the month, and we will be launching that exhibit. And then on October 16th, we're going to have a screening at the Nickelodeon of the Harana, the movie. And Harana, the movie, is about a classical musician's search for the traditional music of the Philippines. And he goes back to the Philippines. It's a beautiful movie, and I really urge you to see it. He goes back to the Philippines in search for this long lost art of Harana, which is the Filipino serenade. It's funny because this activity is something that I learned through my grandparents, and it's something that my father did with my mother when he was trying to court her before they got married. So it's something that is still it was still I guess in use, and it was used by especially the people that lived in the provinces away from the big city,
Mhm.
where the tradition was still strong. So that's on October 16th, and that's going to be followed by a discussion of the Philippine textile exhibits, which I mentioned earlier, I think on October 22nd, and at the Richland Library again. And we will have a world-renowned expert. I think she's the foremost expert on Philippine textiles actually coming in to talk about this. And she's been featured I think she was just featured in Philippine Vogue magazine. And so she's this amazing woman she's an art critic and a curator. She curates museum exhibits in the Philippines. So she's coming to us to talk about. And all of these events are free and open to the public.
Beautiful.
So, I mean, this is open not just for the Filipino community, but for anybody who's interested in watching a good movie, in looking at beautiful textiles, in tasting good food. So it's really a way to connect with everybody who is in the broader, the greater Columbia community. And that's going to be followed by a musical program. So we're like at October 26th, 27th right now. So there's going to be a master class at the University of South Carolina School of Music. And that's going to be held by two world-renowned artists, Michael Dadup and Floranti Aguilar, who are known for their knowledge in as well as their portrayal of Filipino traditional music through guitar. And that's going to be the master class. Unfortunately, that's only open to School of Music students at USC. But then they will be holding a community workshop at the Richland Library, which will be open to all again. And that's going to include, in addition to their guitar playing, it'll also include singing and traditional dances. There might be food in there. I'm sure we'll get food in there somehow. And then the final, I guess the capstone event is going to take place at the USC Recital Hall. And it's going to be a formal concert by our two world-renowned artists, showcasing the traditional classical guitar. And it will be followed by a small reception with food outside of the recital hall. Again, it's open to the public and it's free.
I saw literally like a light come on your face when you talked about Filipino culture and music and food, and I got excited too when you talked about it. I even saw Mom lean up when you started talking about it. It is dynamic how even within one culture there's so many diverse ways to express the experience, the sentiments, and also how this transferred across generations as well. You talked about Harana, which was a dance form utilized in
singing yeah.
form utilized to for your father to propose to your mother. That's quite beautiful. maybe she'll be able to share a little bit about what that aspect of culture means to her, singing arts in general. But it is quite beautiful to see, to say the very least. And what's your favorite thing that's coming up in that month? Which event?
Well, I mean, food, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That's first and foremost. No, but really, it's, I think it's the classical guitar,
Mm-hmm.
because when we first started looking for events, when we first started planning October, I realized very quickly that Filipino classical guitar was not a genre that was known to a lot of people, and which was really kind of disconcerting to me, because it's a beautiful genre. It's a that shouldn't disappear, right? And it's, in order for, I think, these living traditions to continue, we have to build the next generation of people that's going to take them on.
Yes.
And I mean, the two artists that are going to be showcasing this art form, it's actually very interesting, because one of them, Mr. Dadap, is the teacher to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even that in itself, I felt was very beautiful, because it's already carrying the tradition forward.
Yeah.
So we have to do our part into raising the visibility, raising that interest level, so that the next generation can take it forward. Otherwise, it's going to disappear. I mean, that movie that I was talking about, that we're showcasing, his goal was to search for people who were true Harana practitioners. And it took him to the far corners of the Philippines to find these practitioners, because this is not taught in schools. This is handed down from generation to generation.
Yes.
There was one person in the movie who sang a song. The song has never been written. It was handed down to him by his father, whose father handed it down to him. So it was only through oral tradition now that we have a record of this song in this movie. But that's it. It was never put in any sort of, formal written transcript anywhere. It was just handed down from one father to another, or to his son.
I tell you, there is an importance to maintaining culture and preserving it for the next generation, and things like oral history, things like making sure it's visible, that they continue to see every chance we get that there's a celebration of food, of arts, and that type of thing. That's how cultural transmission happens. And it is so profound that even though that search for this Harana practice, being found throughout the Philippines, it is now being brought here to South Carolina. I mean, it's that potent and powerful. So I love that. And I was just having a conversation with someone else about the importance of, listening to your parents when they talk about the things that make them smile, about their culture, about, the way that they were raised and what they engaged in, and also listen to your grandparents as well. So oral tradition matters. Written traditions also matter, and they help preserve some of these, cultures, such as Filipino American culture, even in the U.S. So thank you for sharing that. And how can they, be tapped into all these events? Because it was a lot. So this calendar, can they be found?
So it's on our website.
Mm-hmm.
It'll also be posted on the Richland Library events page, because we are in partnership with the Richland Library to do these events, as well as the University of South Carolina School of Music. I think we'll also have it on their website as well. But first and foremost, it's on our website, and it can be found through there.
Awesome. I love it. Let's talk about a particular dance form. So we just celebrated 30 years here at the Commission for Minority Affairs that has had a relationship with the Filipino American Association of Greater Columbia for a while. And your dance group performed at our gala. It was absolutely beautiful. Y'all were the star of the show. Absolutely. Talk about, that dance group and what they mean to your organization, and then maybe transition to also, sharing with our audience, because we're sort of in that process of wanting the rest of the state to know what our commission does. You all have had a relationship with us, so what resources, or how have we been a resource for you all?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, well, first and foremost, I feel like I do have to thank your organization, because if it wasn't for the support of your organization and the South Carolina legislator, we wouldn't have had funding for the October event. Mm-hmm. So we received funding that allowed us to bring these high quality individuals to our state, and to talk to people that would be interested in the Filipino culture, history, and heritage. So I do think that it was very important to us that we received this funding, not only to be able to put these events on, but also kind of as an affirmation that what we were doing was important to the community. Mm-hmm. So thank you very much for that. And Dr. DaCosta was a guest speaker at a gala, at our last gala, and her speech really encouraged us, or continued the encouragement that the organization felt coming from your office. Mm-hmm. It spurred us on to really broaden and bridge the gaps between communities. It was wonderful to have that recognition. It was wonderful for her to take the time to come and talk to our community. It was very, very, we received it with a lot of gratitude.
I'm glad. And that's the entire reason why this show exists. It really came out of the vision of our executive director, and that is our vision. That's our theme, to build bridges, close gaps within ethnic minority communities, including for Filipino Americans here in South Carolina. So we are thrilled to have you in our state, and your association, and what it means to the greater Columbia area as well. Is there any sort of closing thought that you have, or any way that you can tell people how they can stay connected with what you all are doing?
As the title implies, our title implies, Filipino American Association of Greater Columbia is open to everybody. Mm-hmm. We're open to all communities, to all people who are interested in what the Filipino culture and heritage is. So I encourage anyone, and really, even if it's just to see the dances or taste the food, I encourage anyone to reach out to us. We're at the Columbia International Festival every year. We have a booth, and we often have just amazing food. We have traditional dances there. So if you're at that festival, I encourage you to look for us and just talk to us. We love to share about our culture and what we do and our heritage with anybody.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you and having you. And again, y'all, make sure that you stay connected, okay? Until next time, everybody, we've had Miss Elen Callahan from the Filipino American Association of Greater Columbia. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for the opportunity again.
Of course. See y'all next time. Did you enjoy the episode? I hope you did. Be sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and connect with us on all digital platforms so you don't miss the next episode of the Culture Connect. We'll see you next time, everybody.